boys and girls, students of secondary education, students of tertiary education, youth members, parents and grandparents, and teachers of Dhamma classes. Good morning. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. We are going to have an important presentation titled Learning Life Lessons. Now, what do you mean by life lessons? Now, life lessons refer to something from which you can get very useful knowledge or principles that can help you to live a more happy and peaceful life. And actually, life lessons also involve many Dhamma teachings. So you can see how important this is. Now, we are going to use this way where we are going to refer to a selection of very wise quotations or sayings found in various posters. And we are going to discuss are the important wise sayings which constitute the life lessons. Now, the texts are in English and Chinese. The Chinese is done using Google Translate, so it might not be 100% accurate, but it at least can help those who do not follow English so well. The explanation, narration, comments, all will be in English, right? So let us now launch the PowerPoint slideshow. Now you see the curtain drawn to show the cover slide, a very colorful one, where actually I took some images of posters with very good sayings. But actually we are not doing, all of them, because there are many, many good posters with very inspiring quotations that teach life lessons. So let us now go on to slide number 2, which starts the life lessons. Now you have slide number 2, that is the first of the life lessons in a poster. If you are waiting for the right time, it's now. Now this teaches us a very important life lesson, and that is do not procrastinate. Do not, keep on postponing things and say, wait for another time lah, right? So when we keep on postponing, then you might forget, and also you see that later on you might already give up that idea, right, and so on. So it's very important that when you have something that you have to do, usually immediately or soon. So the now is a very important thing. So let us say you need to reply to a letter or an email message and so on. Then don't say, next time lah, I'll do, and you put it off, and then you might forget. Immediately you do it and carry out the task, and then you feel very happy that you have done that task already. So don't wait for a right time. Every moment is the right time actually for you to carry out an important task, right? So remember, procrastination is the thief of time. So which means that people who procrastinate usually will not really have great success, right, in their lives. And this actually is just a habit, right? They always wait and wait, dilly-dally, we call it dilly-dally. So do it, right? I have all sorts of friends. Some are, they really follow this principle, right? Very fast in responding or carrying out a responsibility, where some others are dilly-dally and then after that completely forget. So it doesn't have a leave a good impression with others in it, because you don't reply things or you don't carry out the duty on time, and that is actually not good lah. So that is this first poster. So now let us go on to the second poster of life lessons. Dreams don't work unless you do. Many people, they have these dreams, a dream in the sense of like just idle thinking or dreaming, I would do this, right? I would carry out this project. I'm going to investigate this. Now, all these are just wishful dreams, wishful dreams. And they do not come true if you don't put in the effort, isn't it? It's just empty dreams, let me say. So we find that many people, have this sort of habit. They have good ideas, right? Or maybe even good goals to follow, but they lack the effort, the diligence. So if you keep on just dreaming, I wish it were like this, I wish it were like that, but you don't put in the effort, then how can that particular wish come true? So I see that there are, people who have this bad habit. They just, you can say sometimes, cakap banyak, but they are not carrying out the work necessary in order to realize their goal. Now, let us say a person has a dream, ambition, right? And he wants to maybe do a particular course, or maybe he wants to be a doctor, right? But then you just dream to be a doctor, but you don't work hard. In other words, you don't study hard to get good results in your exams. Then how can your dream come true? So important thing is, you have a goal, you have a wish, you have an aspiration. Then after that, you must set doing that to realize your ambition, to achieve the goal. So you see that this also applies in our Dhamma practice. Instead of saying dream, let's say we wish. We wish that we would progress in our Dhamma practice and grow in wisdom and compassion. If you just wish, but you don't carry out the task, you don't, for example, learn and then understand the teachings of the Buddha, reflect on them, all right, and then also discuss with people who are interested in the Dhamma, and important thing, to practice. Then how can you make any progress, isn't it? It's just theoretical thing, dreaming or wishing or wanting like that. So dreams don't work unless you do. Now, so you see the animated images, stop dreaming, stop dreaming. And then you must start working, working, you see. So that is a very important life lesson. And many people, don't achieve their goals because they are not hardworking, proactive, right? Just, wishing for this, wishing for that, without putting in the effort. So this is a very important life lesson for your everyday life, whether you are a student or whether you are working in a company, you have a career, or even if you are a family member who has responsibilities and you dream of getting more comfort for your family, but you don't work hard. How can you get that, isn't it? So that is important. Now let us go on to slide number 4. The harder you work, the better you get. This is actually very, very true, a very important life lessons, and it pertains to the quality of diligence. If you are more diligent, then of course you will get better results. In our practice also, in practice of Dhamma, Diligence is a very important quality. You have other qualities like patience, determination, metta, and so on. But this diligence is essential for success. And it's not only in our practice of Dhamma, but in our ordinary lives. And also, if you look at the history of the great people, who have been successful as inventors, as painters, musicians, scientists, and so on, they are very diligent, right? Diligent, very hard they work, right? I think it was Einstein who said, genius is 99% perspiration and only 1% inspiration. Inspiration will be, your, very fantastic talent, right? An idea comes, and then you carry out the work to get the invention or so on. But 99% is perspiration, to put in the work, Perspiration, you perspire means you sweat, means you have to work hard. So that's why this particular poster quote is very, very true. The harder you work, the better you get, the better results you get, or the better person you become because you practice well to develop your character and so on. Now, I have taught students for many, many years, more than 30, 40 years, and I find those very successful ones are very hardworking. They are diligent, consistent, right? Very conscientious in the work. So hard work pays off. Hard work pays off. You will get the results. It's just not by, oh, I want this, I want that, and then you start praying here and praying there. But you don't put in the hard work, how can you get success? Isn't it? So success, achievements, or developing the character, is a very important thing. All will require diligent work to put in the effort. There have been many proverbs on this life lesson. No pain, no gain. He that wants the fruit must climb the tree, isn't it? So you see, no pain, no gain. But many people really are caught by the distractions, temptations of the world, and they like to just enjoy themselves first, right? And then hoping to realize their ambition, and they fail, you see. That's because, right, they don't work hard first. When you work hard first, that means you have to put in the effort, and that involves a pain, a struggle. But then the results will be good, will be sweet. So it's starting pain, but then after that, very, very good results, and you'll be happy, right? But too many people don't realize this important life lesson, right? So remember, the more diligent you are, the more hardworking you are, the better results you will get, and a better person you can become if you start practicing on character development, right? Working hard. Dhamma practice, of course, is very important. This quality of diligence. So that is slide number 4. Now let us go on to slide number 5. This is also a very, very important life lesson. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Now, many people, right, think that, well, if I pray hard, right, then I will have a good future. Right? And some even worse, they feel that, or they think, they believe that my future is already fixed. It's already determined. So these people are what we call the fatalists, fatal already, the fatalism. They say this already quite the one in Hokkien, we say. There's nothing you can do to change it. That is really, really a wrong view, not the right view. The future is in your hands. And to resort to superstitious ways, I know of people who will go to this place of worship, this temple, that temple, and pay ampao, right? And they'll ask the so-called expert, they are sometimes mediums, or people who work in the temples as representatives of the gods. So they say, I want to, be lucky, I want to be successful, I want to strike the lottery, and so on. So you know what they do, right? They give a bows, and then these people, many of them are already con men also. So they will just, mumble some prayers and so on, or then give you some holy things, so-called holy things, use a holy paper, and then write certain things and ask you to. But then you don't do anything that is wise and positive to get the results. You get what you sow, right? So the future is dependent on the present. The present. Now what you do, then the good things can come if you do the right and good things now. So the future is actually now, as the animated image shows. So you create the future. So the best way now, if you want to have a good future, is to create that future. How do you create that future? By doing all the good and wise things. Right? Like following your morality, and then developing your character. That is developing your character lah. And then also doing like charity work, service, dana lah. And then also practicing meditation so that the mind will be good and so on. So all the positive things as you learn in the Dhamma, then the future will be right for you. Don't be like the person say, this one is the will of God lah. It's already created already, fixed already. That's the rubbish, right? You have to create that future. That is a very, very important life lesson. I've also used, certain stories that tell you that your destiny is not fixed, Your future is not fixed already. It depends on what you do now to a very large extent. You see? Like for example, you find why is it that some people, in this present life are very rich, some are very poor, some are very intelligent, some are really very dull, moronic, and then some are so handsome, and then some are so ugly looking. Some are pretty, some are ugly looking. Some, are born into, very, very high class in the society, kings, lords, dato, and so on. Others are born into very wretched families, suffering, right? In very, very impoverished areas. Why? That's the cause. That's because of one of the important causes is the karma. The past, certain things happen, and the Buddha talked about this in the, I think, Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length sayings, so right. So, what happened in the past? Everything now you get the reward, or so-called you get the results lah. The vipaka we call it, the consequences, the ripening of the fruit already, dependent on the past karma. And likewise also, what is going to happen in the future will be depending on what you do now to a very good extent, right? So from here you see how it is how important it is to create your own destiny, right? The destiny is not fixed, so it can be changed. So that is number 5. Now slide number 5. So let us go on to the next life lesson, number 6 now. This is one of the most important Dhamma teachings, right? All we are is a result of what we have taught. The central thing, one of the central things is the mind in the Dhamma that we learn. All right, mind is the forerunner of all things. So what you think, creating that set of thoughts, you will become. And actually, in one of the scriptural quotations, you have this very important thing that mind is the forerunner of all things. Mind leads all things, So what you are and what you get will, to a very, very large extent, dependent on what you have been thinking, what you are thinking, and you create that You create that person. You create the circumstances and happening. In the Dhammapada, you saw results. I mean, examples are given. Like say, if you think bad things, then what will happen? The bad consequences will come. Just like a bullock cart drawn by a cow or a bull. So what happens is the cart will follow as the bull goes along, is it? As the cart follows the movement of the wheel like that. So likewise, also if you think bad thoughts, and then this become habits, and and then from the thoughts, the speech and the actions will come. And if they are bad thoughts, then you will have a bad speech or wrong actions coming. So it starts with the mind. On the other hand, if you are always thinking good thoughts, right? And then, then these good thoughts will, manifest out in the good speech, kind words, gentle words, metta words, and also your actions, because you have good thoughts, isn't it? Then you get the good results. Like Nariji, if I'm not mistaken, it should be this, or it could be the other way around. But in this case here, like for example, a person that is walking, right? So the shadow will follow him. So the shadow will always follow him. Just like when you do when you have the good thoughts and so on, so the good results will follow you. That sort of thing. So this is a very, very important life lesson. So in the practice, we have this thing of right effort. Right effort means to wash the mind so that all bad thoughts are cast away, and then we do not let the bad thoughts come in. And then we also try to have good thoughts coming in. Good thoughts like kindness, right? Loving kindness, right? Metta, and then good thoughts like being generous, very helpful, and so all the good thoughts, So if these thoughts are not in your mind, then you have to welcome these thoughts and get them into the mind. And if these thoughts are already there, you have that very good quality of being very kind, being very generous. So carry on having such thoughts, and these thoughts will translate into good speech and right action. So you see, remember this, right? Mind is the forerunner of all things, and thoughts are very important. So this is one very, very important life lessons. Now, actually, I just use this illustration to show the process of thinking of or what goes on in the mind. And here you find our minds can be filled with all sorts of things, right? One day, thousands and thousands of thoughts, enter your mind. And these thoughts can be of three types only: good thoughts, bad thoughts, and neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts means not really having the goodness or having the evil. It's just that, you have to carry out a task and so on. It's quite neutral. But the danger is having the wrong thoughts, the bad thoughts, the cruel thoughts. So this is the danger. So you have to take care. Try to cultivate the habit of having good thoughts. And one very good thing is to practice the meditation of loving kindness, right? Where you wish people well and so on. So this has to be trained. That means you always input all those good things, the good thoughts here, into always input. So just like a computer, when you have program being put in, and then you will execute out, so you get the results. So you always put in all the good thoughts, then the good things will come. The good things. This is what we call cause and effect. So the law of karma is connected with this, starting with the mind. So remember, mind is the forerunner of all things. Mind leads. And a lot of the Dhamma teachings you find emphasizing this thing very, very often. So I hope you understand this particular life lesson. Then you find that you might ask, then how do we have the right thoughts? What sort of thoughts, and how do we train so that the right thoughts will come? You say sometimes I don't have control, all the bad thoughts start coming, and this could be due to a past karma or your early days already bad conditioning. Then you have to learn the Dhamma. And the Dhamma will explain very, very well the nature of thoughts arising, why, how they arise, what we can do to remove all those unwholesome or distracting thoughts that lead us astray. So that's why you find that still Dhamma education is very, very important. Right. Now let us go on to slide number 7 now. Right. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And this actually is the saying of this very, very famous person, Nelson Mandela. I'm sure you have heard of him, right? He from South Africa. Imagine the time when they had apartheid, which means discrimination against the black people. South Africa, colonized by the whites, the Europeans, like the Dutch and then some other European people control, and then they discriminated for many, many years, against the native people, the Negroes, the blacks. And Nelson Mandela, he spoke out against all the injustice and all the discriminatory practices, and he was put in jail for, I think, more than 20 years or something like that, right? But he was a fantastic person and he got even the Nobel Prize for Peace. Later on, of course, where people rose against this apartheid and so on. So the thing failed, and then South Africa was changed and became a democratic country. And Nelson Mandela was released from prison and he became the president. President of South Africa. Is one of those great people in history, right? And this was what he said. And he was a remarkable person that he did not have feelings of revenge or, to try to do certain things because he got the power now being the president, right? To punish those people who really torture him and so on. No. He forgave them and everything, and he emphasized on education to change. And today, you see, South Africa is one of those very impressive countries, all right? So, and when we reflect on this, you see that it's very important. Education can make or break a nation. That's why in every country you find education is a very important area. They put, if the country has wisdom, they put a very talented people who are very competent, very intelligent, wise, and so on to be in charge. Because if you have the wrong education, then you find what can happen. As today, there have been some people that receive education which could be dangerous, having the wrong views, and later on they become terrorists. Why they become terrorists? Actually, one of the reasons is that from young they have been indoctrinated. They have been conditioned in the wrong way, wrong views. And then today you know of so many terrorists, that cause so much suffering to so many people. Bombings, torturing, cutting the heads of people, all those things. So from here we can see that in any nation, education is a very important thing. And so when you reflect on this, you know that you have to receive good education. But when you think of education, you only think of getting A's, go to school. And today you find in schools, they emphasize only or mostly nearly 100% on the subjects to get the knowledge, to get the A's, and then go to universities. Yeah, this is one aspect we have to do. You have to earn a living and contribute to the economy. But then what about the other things like moral education, spiritual education that, will teach you important life lessons? Like I'm sure, you don't learn much of these sort of things in our schools here, right? No doubt they have the moral education, but then one becomes an examination subject, learning to get that knowledge, but not putting into practice, and then you find that it has flopped. That's why you see so many problems. And this actually, one of the causes is not receiving the proper education from the family, in the schools, in the society, and so on. So spiritual education and religious education, or no matter what religion, proper religion the person follows. So, and then in terms of Buddhism, for us, very important is the Dhamma education. Because the Dhamma education will equip your mind with the wisdom, knowing what to do, what not to do, and then how to develop the mind so that you have happiness, peace, right, and wisdom. So you can change yourself. You can change yourself, then you become a leader. You can change your family for the better lah. You can change society. Then you can change the country. Many people are like that, and then the world can be changed. So a very, very good quotation from Nelson Mandela. So now let us go on to number 8. The quotation says, get out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone, you know what is a comfort? Very easy, nice, luxurious style of living. There are many people, many of us are living in comfort zone, right? We have, we are so lucky, so blessed. We have good families, we have the education, we have the comfort of the home, electricity, and then we have also some have also fantastic rooms, their own rooms with very nice beds, and all the facilities are hi-fi lah, and then also water beds, even air conditioning, of course lah, so very comfortable all the while, but they have never tasted the suffering. They have never tasted what is being done or what is happening in the outside world, where there are so many people who are suffering. They are not at all in the comfort zone. They are really living hard lives. So such people I've taught many students even in Dhamma classes. Some are already spoiled already because they are always in the comfort zone. Like for example, when we bring people out for, the students out for tours, there are people that are so used to their comfort zone, cannot even experience a little hardship, Sometimes the weather is hot. So when they get onto the bus, they complain already. Brother, why so hot, so hot? Switch on the aircon lah. They become irritable, impatient. I say, yeah, but it will take time. I also feel hot. You have to be patient. So used to the comfort, everything, so they cannot have patience or endurance and so on. And such people sometimes also don't have feelings for don't have compassion or sympathy for the unfortunate ones. So it's kind of a sad because such people become maybe sometimes selfish, very self-centered, always thinking of themselves, right, for their own benefit. And you see that if you look at the great people, people who have wisdom, who have contributed a lot, they actually, many of them come from very poor families and also difficult situations. Circumstances are trying, but through these circumstances, no longer a comfort zone, they struggle. So from the rags to the riches. Rags means rags very poor, poverty. Then they become millionaires or billionaires. So life begins at the end of your comfort zone. You're always used to just all those enjoyment, pleasures, and comfortable things, and not, even seeing the suffering of the world at all. Then how can you become great or become a worthy person in the life? Great things never come from comfort zone. Right? Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel Prize winner for literature. So he wrote his greatest works that got the Nobel Prize when his wife died and his son died. Right? So life became very, very sad for him. All this, but it's in such a situation that the creativity, right, the greatness arises. Not when you are jollying, when you are always enjoying yourself, right? Can you really achieve something that is really praiseworthy? So this is something that we have to really reflect on. And likewise, also when you practice Dhamma, there will be, pains, You have to endure the suffering. Look at the Bodhisattva. To become enlightened, Siddhartha Gautama had to undergo 6 years of suffering, practicing the ascetic practices, very hard life. No proper place to stay. You have to stay under the trees, and then hardly any. I mean, he would even take very little food. This is to train our mind and our body to endure the suffering and to be able to realize important things, to make you really a worthy human being, or even maybe a noble human being. But if I today, majority, I want to go to this India, I don't want to go to this country, Bangladesh or Burma or Cambodia. A lot of, I don't want to see, they only want to see the good things, the comfortable things, like, wow, go to Europe, US. But it's in India. India is the only country that I went 3 times, because you can really see life, people living in very great comfort zones, and then the other side also, people are living in great suffering, poverty, and so on. Then you can reflect, right? That life is like that. Now, if you live in comfort zone and you don't train your mind, one day you will fall out of your comfort zone, and your luxuries, your wealth all gone. Then you find some cannot take it already, they commit suicide. That's what happened. You have a young professional doctors even, and other professionals, all the while, living in comfort zone. So when the girlfriend ran away, cannot already, the mind cannot take it, and then will commit suicide. So imagine, very important, you must get out of your comfort zone. And in the Dhamma practice, we have things like meditation or retreats where you have some suffering, some pain. No pain, no gain. So it's a very good thing. Initially, it's not sweet, but later on the result very sweet. But today, a lot of people just want sweet, sweet, sweet. Nice, nice, nice. But then it can come out in the end sour already, not sweet already. Then it will be terrible, isn't it? So this is a very good life lesson. Now let us go on to number 9 now. Wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Right is right, even if no one is doing it. This pertains to our conscience, which has to be developed to have the good conscience. Now, so many people have this idea, right? You say, why? So many people are cheating, I can also do it, follow the crowd, follow the crowd. That is wrong. A moral wrong is a wrong, right? Whether everyone is doing it or it's a wrong thing. If everyone is doing that thing, which is like, for example, corruption, your circle of friends all doing, then you say, you say everyone doing it, also do lah. It's not, right? Dhamma teachings, we have moral codes. All religions also, we have moral codes. Like, for example, one of the precepts is not to take intoxicants, liquor, then after they get intoxicated. So I remember one occasion where we had a reunion. I had a reunion with some of my former classmates and so on. So a table of, I think, 10 to 12. Right? So everybody was drinking. So when it came to my turn, I said, no, I don't drink, because I just say, y'all go ahead and drink, but I keep on to my precept and not taking the intoxicant. So they disturb me, make fun of you. Are you a man or a woman? What did you learn in the university and so on? But you don't have to react, you have your right. You are following the precept and you don't do it. But in the end also, you have a respect from people, So wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. I'm not saying that one is a real serious example, but it actually illustrates a point, right? Right is right, even if no one is doing it. Right is right. Like, for example, it is right to keep the environment clean, right? Not to pollute the environment, because you can harm the environment and then cause suffering to people. But you see, my neighbors all are not doing it, They throw the rubbish everywhere and so on. So I also follow lah. It's terrible, isn't it? That is wrong. So right is right, even if no one is doing it. This is a very important thing. So we have to, understand that the truth does not necessary, and it's not lie with the majority. If the majority are breaking the traffic rules, they beat traffic lights, they speed and so on. That does not make it right, right? Even though majority seem to be doing it, I give you an example, right? Because this sort of as you can say, foolish actions will cause suffering, more accidents, more people get hurt, and even get killed, isn't it? So even if majority are doing it, that doesn't make the thing good. So when you realize this, then you can be really be a person of good qualities, a noble person, a worthy person even. So this is a very important thing. It pertains to having the right conscience to tell you, this one is wrong, cannot do. Sometimes my students, those days I was giving this class bimbingan. So I would advise them, put on your helmets and so on. And they say, not to worry lah, right? Because no police, or some would say, the police is my friend. Well, this sort of thing, that means you're putting it on the helmet not to protect yourself for safety reasons, but because you want to cheat or lari from the law. When no one is looking, it's okay. If somebody is looking, then only you do it. That is not correct. So you remember this very important point. So that is this picture. You can see that this man, it's just like in your mind, you have two forces. Now one here you can see like a saint or angel. The other one you see the hantu. These are just to show you that we have this inside us, the good force and then the bad forces like Mara. They call it the devil in you. But then you also have the angel. So now you must develop the mind to know or what you should do to follow this side the saint or the angel Otherwise, you are going to face with terrible consequences and suffering will follow when you do the wrong things. Like just now we said, following the wrong way, right, wrong thoughts and so on. Okay, now let us go on to slide number 10 now. Do your best, forget the rest. One of the reasons why there is so much stress among students, even working people, right, and even old people, is this, right? They want to compete with other people, and they want to be number one, they want to get the best. So always looking at other people and say, I must beat this fella, I must beat that fella. I remember I was one of these sort of people when I was in school, even until Form 5, right? Then later on when I study, the religions, and also which I was never taught, and then study Dhamma especially, then you find that you drop this type of stupid thinking, right? So when you are always wanting to be a perfectionist, wanting to be the best, to get the best, you find there is a lot of dukkha and stress, which means that you are jealous of other people's success, then you feel very tense, anxious, you are worried that you may not be the best or get the best. So I learned a lot from the Dhamma, that this gives rise to suffering. Everybody is going to die one day. So you have the wrong attitude and the wrong view, you're going to have much dukkha. And worst thing, the wrong view will lead you to do the wrong actions, like cheating, for example, right? Cheating in examinations, or trying to sabotage other people so that they don't get the best. In the world filled with this sort of people also, right? That's why there's one very famous quotation. It's not a quotation, right? I think I coined it. I don't know. It says that it's not important if you are not the best. It's not important if you don't get the best. What really matters and is important is just to try your level best. So that removes a lot of the stress in it. Well, I try my best. So sometimes I will send this advice to students who are sometimes really stressed. And then you might reach a breaking point. Then you can go into depression and become mentally sick, So that is the thing. So don't compete and measure. Forget the rest means that you don't try to just compare with other people. That person, I must beat. That person, all this. If that person is successful, he's the best, you should feel happy for that person, isn't it? That is mudita, sympathetic joy, one of the very good qualities to cultivate, and you will feel much, much more peaceful. So this especially for the students and also people who are carving out a career, right? So some like in the companies are jealousy, they try to outdo another person, and then to please the boss because they want to get the best, to get the most bonus, right? So you find this can also affect relationship. People don't like you, isn't it? They are always very self-centered, wanting things for yourself, not helpful, you don't practice dana also, and all those things. So just do your best, forget the rest, right? Then this will lead you to have less stress. Otherwise, your life will go into a mess. So east or west, right, is important, right, to remove the stress, right? And then you will not get into a mess. All right, now let us go on to slide number 11 now. Every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Now, many people, of course, are very happy when you're successful, but they cannot accept failures. So when failures come, they can sink into terrible states of the mind to the extent that some will go into depression, some commit suicide even. But they don't realize this very important life lessons. It's what we call the 8 worldly winds. Sometimes we have happiness, sometimes we have sorrow. That is life. Who can always have happiness only without some pain? There will be some pain when you have a sickness or when certain things go wrong in your family or in your job. So you're bound to have this. This is the one of the important teachings are 8 worldly conditions. Then sometimes you get praise, sometimes you get blamed, right? And then sometimes, you are very famous, then next moment, you feel already that those days you have very famous pop stars, and after that they fade away. No, nobody knows them already, right? Politicians also, all those things. So, can you withstand all this? You see, sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose, isn't it? People invest in the share market. Sometimes also they lose, but sometimes gain when the shares goes up. But when the shares come down, right, you fail to get the money that you want. Can you take it or not? So that's why you see is how important it is to have the wisdom of the Dhamma. But then nothing is fixed. So even if there is failure, you can try again. Like you see the animated, fail, fail, fail. There have been great people who fail so many times, but later on become, like Abraham Lincoln, he failed so many times, but later on he became one of the very famous or great presidents of America. He failed in this, he failed in that, right? Einstein also failed in his school exams and so on. But then later on, what happened? He became one of the greatest scientists that ever lived. So there is this saying that failure is not failure. Failure is failing to get up after you fall. That is an important thing. Failure is not failure. When there is failure, there will be success. When there is success, there will be failure. Just as when you have darkness, you have brightness. When you have wealth, you have poverty. So this is the world we live in, So we must be able to accept these changing conditions and this state. Then you will grow. And always bear in mind failure. But that too will pass. So night comes, but then there will be the next day when the sun rises again. So sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So sometimes you win, you feel very, very happy, you're successful. But sometimes you fail. You fail, then you must consider this. Those are the times you can learn. Just as Thomas Edison, the one who invented the electric bulb, he failed how many times or not? Hundreds of times, man. The bulb would not light up. He experimented and so on. And then some of his friends say, Thomas, you gave up. This one you cannot succeed. He say, no, from every failure, I can learn something. I learned why this particular method doesn't work. So after a few hundred, I think more than 600 or 700 times of that, you can read about him, Thomas Edison. Then he was successful. Success came. So every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent. You learn from the failure, right? So I say now you have certain problems. Maybe it's because of certain things you did in the past, or not even in the past life, but in the earlier part of the life. Then you should not feel you know it. You learn from it, and then you grow. You grow and say, I will not make the mistakes again, and then you start again on the right path. Then success will come. This is wisdom. This is having the right view. So remember this very, very important life lesson. All right. Look at the Bodhisattva who became enlightened Siddhartha Gautama. You think he did not meet with failure? For 6 years, he tried all sorts of methods, terrible, torturing himself and so on. But each of the ascetic practices, the really torturing methods, each of them failed. He did not really make a progress or could not get forward. But he did not give up. Right? He said, oh, this one didn't work. So he tried another one. Until finally he found that way, right? That would give him the enlightenment. And I've already posted the life of Siddhartha Gautama, very inspiring one. So remember that to be able to accept failure. Right? When there is success, say failure also sometimes could happen. Right? When there is failure and you have the right attitude and so on, then success can come also. So this is the wisdom that you must cultivate. Now let us go on to slide number 12 now. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. It's just a saying. Attitude is not actually really a little thing, but it's a very nice saying to say. That you don't have to go and buy a lot of expensive things to be successful or to be happy. If that's the case, then the richest people are the most happy. It's not so. You find some very rich people, like even Michael Jackson, very famous and so on, also committed suicide, you see. They have the wrong view and could not cultivate the right attitude, right? The sikap. So if a person has the right attitude, then you find things work out much better, right? So if it's not the aptitude, oh, my talent is inside like that. It's your attitude that's very important. So with the good, right attitude, then you have the ability to achieve life's altitude. Altitude means height. So your right attitude, then you can have the altitude of life, which means that the high state of your life, more peaceful, right? More successful, more happy. So you see that is very important. So likewise also, in the Dhamma practice, if you have a wrong attitude, right? You don't understand, like you should have the attitude of having to be patient, having to be able to endure some pain, tolerance, and then also having the metta. You don't have all this good attitude. You only want to gain certain things for yourself faster. Then you find that you are in for trouble. So many people also give up in the Dhamma practice, especially meditation, because they have the wrong attitude. They have the wrong view. So those are with good attitude. I also, know of cases, right? That one of my relatives, she, was boss of a big shop that sells, certain goods, right? Chocolates and all those stuff on the sell. So they interview the graduates, right? To fill in a position, and then in the interview, the thing is explained to them, you find some very bad attitudes. Oh, no, I can't do this. I am a graduate. I cannot just go and clean all the shop every day and it's dirty. That's a terrible attitude, isn't it? Oh, you mean you have reached until university, so you cannot do this that you consider as lowly jobs. That is a terrible attitude, isn't it? It's ego, it's pride, it's conceit, right? So, of course, straight away the interview would end. We wouldn't employ such a person. So when we look at this situation, this is applicable to all levels of people in the society. So if you have the right attitude, many people with the right attitude, being hardworking, with great responsibility, and then with very great concern for others, sacrifice, all the right attitude, then people will like you. You can be successful in your job, and not only that, in whatever you do, attitude is very important. I've done one or two postings about this, attitude for the altitude. You can check it out. So now we have to go on to number 13 already. So what is 13 now? Now 13, a negative mind will not give you a positive life. How very true it is? It's actually in a way connected with the previous slide on the attitude. If you are always having negative thinking, right? You're always having the bad attitude, right? Your thoughts are negative. Obviously, cannot lah. This one very hard to succeed one lah, right? And this one, very, very cynical and look down on people, and then saying that, this thing, judging other people, always having the forces. And what are the forces? The forces always complaining only, always criticize. Not constructive criticism, no, but criticize, but don't do anything to improve the situation. Always curse, always condemning. Yeah, this is useless one lah. Right? You see the one, wow, say all the bad things. So wrong speech coming also. That's the third bad C lah. The C, always complaining, always criticizing, always condemning other things, other negative lah. And then cursing even. The best is if the fella get knocked down by the car, oh, that's terrible already. So these negative states, actually, they are unwholesome states. But of course, if you criticize, you have the good intention, and then you suggesting that is positive, right? Or you bring out a complaint in a very gentle manner, tell the reason and so on, and then to wanting to improve the situation. It's different. I'm talking about people who have a negative mind, with the anger, with the ego, everything all there, having the forces. They should be having the proper C's, like having a calm mind, right? Having a very charitable mind, having a very clear mind, having a very compassionate mind. That is a positive thinking, positive qualities. So they should be having these positive qualities, calmness, confidence, and then also a mind of charity, a mind of compassion. So all these things are good C's they don't want. They only use 4 bad C's. Right? So then how can your life be happy and peaceful? Well, definitely you can't. Right? You find that you have negative thoughts, your mind is always having that negative mental attitude. This case very good. The animated image. Positive mental attitude. He has a very kind attitude, kind view. He doesn't go and harm other creatures and so on. Right? So this animated cartoon also tell you, think positive, think good thoughts. Right? Think good thoughts. The thoughts good thoughts, I think you know what they are. So many thoughts of generosity, thoughts of metta, thoughts of compassion. Metta is loving kindness. Thoughts of sacrifice for other people. Thoughts of very strong kindness. Thoughts of not attaching to things. Right? Thoughts of not being greedy. Or not being easily getting angry or hateful. All these thoughts all are none. Then you have a positive, good mind. So that is also a very important life lesson, which also is in the Dhamma. That's why in the Dhamma, you have things like right view, the first one in the Noble Eightfold Path. And then very important also, the right thought. Right thought means a thought that is filled with metta, love, right? A thought that has no cruelty, right? No terrible hateful feelings or wanting to take revenge and so on. A thought that is not attaching, very greedy, attaching to things only. Thoughts that are not lustful, right? Unwholesome desires. That constitute all these aspects of right thought. And then when you have the right view, the right thoughts that pertain to the mind, then they will lead you to other things, like right speech, because your thoughts are good and you have the right view, so you will not simply say all the wrong things, wrong speech, because it starts with the mind. And then, of course, you have the right view and the right thoughts, you won't do all the unwholesome actions, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, so on. And then also it will lead to the other factors. So you see how important it is, the mind. This summarize. Of course, motivators will tell you this thing positive and positive attitude. But in the Dhamma, you have that also under different terms. Now we come to the end already. That is slide number 14. So now, it's very important, this aspect, wisdom, right? The whole of Buddhism centers on wisdom and compassion in a way, right? Because when wisdom doesn't mean you're very clever, getting all the A's and go to universities and got all the degrees. You can have people with PhDs can become terrorists also. Wisdom is a very unique quality. I posted many postings pertaining, including stories on wisdom. You can check it out. So if you have the wisdom words. Today you have seen so many sets of wisdom words, words of wisdom in the form of posters, right? But then you must just not study them. You study subjects only. You must reflect on them, put them into practice. So when wisdom words, right, are practiced, when practiced diligently always, then you help people to live life more peacefully. So when the words of wisdom, you understand, you reflect upon, right? You can even discuss with good spiritual friends and then put in practice, definitely your life can be lived more happily and peacefully. So that is to sum up all those things, why we are doing all these life lessons, which you can say lessons in wisdom. Lessons in wisdom also, another way of putting it. So that is what we have set out to do in this presentation. So words of wisdom, remember that. So that is the end of this presentation. So before we say sadhu 3 times, I would like to thank you boys and girls, students in the secondary education, more suitable for secondary and university or college students and youths. Primary students may have some problems unless you happen to be very, very intelligent, different from majority then you can follow sentence 6 maybe. So, and also of course the teachers of Dhamma classes and also parents and grandparents who also can learn. Actually, this is applicable to all actually, including adults. So I say sadhu and thank you to all of you for taking time and putting in the effort, energy, expended to follow this quite long, more than an hour presentation. And sadhu to all of you. That is a very good meritorious action. So thank you and sadhu to all people who have been following this presentation. Now let us put our palms together and say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. To all who have been following the presentation, may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. And may you always study life lessons on the Dhamma and practice them. Take care.